Goodreads has posted another list of the best books from the last decade. This time it's mystery and thriller related. Thank you so much to the subscriber who told me about this article being posted. In my last video, I did a vlog where I was reading horror books from like 10 years ago. And it was based on the video that I made 6 months before that of Goodreads putting out the best horror books of the last decade. Now we have the best mystery and thrillers of the last decade. Once again, I'm going to give you my reaction to the list, what I know about the books, how many I've read, what's on my TBR, and then also give you my own list of favorites from that year. Goodreads used to allow comments on articles like this, which was really helpful for people giving their own recommendations, so it's not just curated by whoever. And I wish that there was something accompanying each book that was written by the person who wrote the article. They gave just a quick like 1 or 2 sentence pitch rather than having to hover over every single one of them and barely being able to read what they're about, but I'll do my best to pitch these to you. We're starting with 2026. There is not 8 books. Okay, in the horror video, there was 8 books per year. It seems like there is now 12. Okay, 12. I only did 8, and there's probably only 1 or 2 years that I could have come up with 12. So 8 seemed good to me. That makes sense now because the title is 136, and that math adds up a lot better. Wait, no, it doesn't. It should be 120. We're starting with 2026. Obviously, this year has just started, so these are books that people I'm sure will be talking about as the year goes on. I have read 1 of these 12 so far, and 3 are on my TBR. So the one that I've read is also on my list of favorites. I mean, I only have 2 on that list, but one of them is This Story Might Save Your Life. I gave it 4 stars. It's a podcast couple who goes missing. There were no shocks in it, which would have made it a 5-star for me. The only other one on my list so far is not on the Goodreads list, and that's How to Kill a Guy in 10 Dates. This is like a campy thriller horror, so maybe that's why it wouldn't be here. It's for like horror movie lovers, people who are kind of getting it on while they're in danger. It's a ridiculous fun night of survival after someone gets killed at a dating event. Back to the list though. It's Not Her by Mary Kubica. It's interesting that it's here because I don't think this is an author that everybody is obsessed with. I think she got a lot of attention, years ago, and I've read a bunch of her books. I haven't read her in the last couple of years. Maybe this one will be for me. It's a vacation-y thriller, I remember. It has 2 family members who are dead and one is missing, and then the main character has to figure out where they are. My Husband's Wife and Anatomy of an Alibi are from authors that I've hated in the past, so I don't think I would add those ones. Anatomy of an Alibi is about a dead man. There are 2 suspects who are involved, like 2 women involved with him, and they like swap places. They're doing spying. It's not really my thing. My Husband's Wife is another one with like a man and 2 women. He seems to be married to both of them, but they don't know about each other, or like one of them's having a memory issue and like she was never married to him. Freida McFadden is not for me. Strangers in the Villa is another vacation-y one. A couple goes to like repair their relationship, but then another couple shows up at the villa and tests them or something. I have liked Robin Harding before, so I'll probably pick this one up at some point. Actually, pause. Oh my gosh, we never even did like a prediction moment. I think I should guess how many of the 136 I will have read. I'm gonna say for the horror video, I think I hit 60%, maybe 70%. For this one, I'm gonna say more like 40%. I don't think I'm gonna hit 50. And maybe I should set a goal to read like 10 more from this list by the end of the year, because I have been abandoning mystery thrillers lately, but I want to love them. And one of them I know for sure I'm going to read is Her Last Breath by Taylor Adams, because I like Taylor Adams. And this one has these 2 girls who are in this cave, and there's a man there, and he is like dangerous, maybe has secrets about one of them. It's about friendship, and I'm saving this for a video because a bunch of you listed it as a shocking book, so I'm excited to get to that one soon. And then what else do we have here? How to Get Away with Murder. This one is like about a detective and serial killers, which I'm not interested in. Whitby I started. It's about child abuse. I abandoned that one. Missing Sam is a sapphic mystery. A wife goes missing and she's in captivity, and we're reading about her like fighting to survive, which isn't really something I love to read current day, but it always depends on how it's done. Little One, I know that one's more like fiction, and I think it's about a cult. And there's a Tana French that I haven't loved things from her before, so not on my radar, but I could be convinced of things. For 2025, I have read none of those, but 3 of them are on my TBR. Not Quite Dead Yet is like a countdown to a woman's own death. She has to solve it. I think it's kind of plays with time. I watched a spoiler-filled video about it because I wasn't interested because I don't like Holly Jackson. So now I know everything about it. Karen Slaughter, but I've forgotten clearly. Karen Slaughter, I do like when I'm in the rare mood to read from like a detective POV. This one has to do with two girls who vanished and we're following a detective who solves it. The ghostwriter, there's two teenagers who are dead in this one. Their sibling was accused of murdering them. And then in the future, we're following him, that guy who was accused, and his daughter is writing like the truth about his story as the ghostwriter. Hardwood I recently bought. This one's about a hiker who disappears. And it's her fight for survival. I think we're reading a bunch of letters, if I'm remembering correctly. All of the men on this list I'm not really interested in, not Frida McFadden again, or Lisa Jewell. The Sherry Lupina I could see myself picking up. There's a husband who comes home from work and his wife is missing, and there's no evidence that she ever left the building, which I think is kind of intriguing. I guess it depends on the perspective we're reading from, because again, if we're just from a woman being held captive by a man, like that's a lot of mystery thrillers that I've read and I'm just not really interested in. Forget Me Not is a woman who's working at this like fancy retreat, and she comes across a journal that's linked to her missing sister. Stacey Billingham is an author I've never read, but I see people talk about her a lot. Okay, pulling up my personal list, I have Julie Chan is Dead, Love of My Life, a wackadoodle thriller horror group of influencers, stolen but more so mistaken identity. You Are Fatally Invited, which I'm not surprised isn't here, but I wish it would. This is a retreat thriller. I love like a group of people going to an event and reading from all their perspectives, who invited them, what his goal is bringing all these authors to an island. Too old for this. I definitely wouldn't put on the list. I don't think it's for everybody. It's a pure thriller, no mystery, of a woman recounting her days as a serial killer and the person who thinks that she knows what this woman has done. And then History Lessons also wouldn't necessarily put on here. I don't think like cozy things are necessarily going to be here, but it's a school setting. A woman, her coworker dies and she is solving the crime. I think she's also falling in love in the book, so it's like romancy mystery. That's my list. I didn't have 8 to fill that out. Anyway, let's scroll to 2024. I have read 4 of these and 1 remains on my TBR. The God of the Woods is this historical, there's like a couple different timelines. It's not a thriller at all. It's just a mystery, and it's very slow, not action-packed at all. There are 2 missing people in 2 different timelines, and you're following like the family and workers and attendees of this summer camp. I really liked it. It did make my list and I gave it a 4. Listen for the Lie, I've read, I gave it 3 stars. I agree that it should be here as a recommendation. It's a podcast focused one. I think right after, maybe I'm wrong, a wedding, the bride dies and then her best friend is seen like covered in blood, so everyone thinks that she did it. I remember there being a little bit of romance in this one. Like it was intriguing, but I don't think it was surprising. I co-signed this as a recommendation. First Lie wins. I usually just hate a spy, stolen identity, sneaky kind of story, so that one was never going to work for me. And I have also read The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year. This is a cozier one, so I guess we are doing cozy mystery at the same time. It's kind of a mix of romance and mystery. These people are going to this author's manor. I could only give it a 3, but the first half of it was so good. The second half of it was just a little bit boring. But I do like the kind of diversity as far as tone on the list now. And I've included some cozier mysteries, but I've also included some like little bit of speculative ones. And I see The Last Murder at the End of the World here, which makes me feel better about putting those on my list, because I wasn't sure if these were just going to be pure realistic mystery thrillers. As far as what's on my radar, All the Colors of the Dark, I do want to read. I've heard it's slow and intimidating. It's a really slow paced one. It pitches itself as like, there's a missing person mystery, a serial killer thriller, and a love story, but a unique take on each one. And that's all I've held in my head about this, and I don't want to know much more. The Return of Ellie Black, I've read YA from this author. This is a detective POV, and there's like vanishing girls. I could see myself in the future picking something up from her, but again, detective POV is not really my favorite. There's Richard Osman, Frida McFadden, not interested in. Sally Hepworth, I read something from her, I think, that was just kind of mid, so I've never considered anything else. Geneva Rose, enough people have told me not to read her stuff. A.R. Tor, The Last Party, I read The Girl in 6E years ago and liked it, and I've always thought about reading more from her. This could be the one. This one's like an infamous murder, and the person who confessed might not be the actual one who did it, which is the pitch of so many mysteries, so it's hard to know which one with that premise to pick up. And then The Last Murder at the End of the World, I had on my TBR and I took it off because a lot of people told me it was not very good. Now my list from 2024. Yeah, this one hurts. There's only 3 on it. Only 3. The God of the Woods made it though. And then I also added Look in the Mirror. This one has 2 different timelines. A woman inherits her father's property. And then in another timeline, we follow a woman who's like working at that property. Different weird rules happening. And then I also put Night Watching. This is a suspense. And it's like, what would this woman do to save her children? Someone is coming into the house. She has 2 young kids and she has to hide. It's kind of like Panic Room. And everything else I read in 2024 was a 3-star or below. So let's move to 2023. Oh my gosh, I've read so many. Wow, 7 I have read, 2 are on my TBR. Of the ones that I've read, I hated 2 of these 7. None of this is true. And The Quiet Tenant. They're the types of thrillers that people will say like that was a really important read. It handled important topics, bringing to light important issues. I think I'm just not the most interested these days in seeing women survive against evil men. Obviously, that's good to exist, but it's not my current taste, which is one of the reasons I'm not really interested in Bright Young Women, though a lot of people have recommended that to me and who are like shocked that I'm not interested in it. The true crime element of it doesn't interest me at all. Once I have read though, I loved The Only One Left. It's like this old woman accused of killing her family, and then she gets a health aid and she's gonna finally tell the legend of her family. It's really gothic and good. Vera Wong, Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. This one is definitely a crowd pleaser. Definitely understand it being here. It's on my list. It's a cozy mystery, hilarious protagonist. Someone dies in her tea shop and she's meddling with the investigation. Well, Lies in the Woods, I'm kind of surprised to see here. It's your classic like friend group goes into the woods, not everyone comes out. And then 2 decades later, we find out what really happened. There's a man who's been accused of the murder, but is he the one who really did it? Kill for Me, Kill for You. I would have loved to be on my list. I went into this really liking it. And then if I didn't predict the big reveal of it, it would have been, you know, a 4-star, 5-star potentially. I recommend it for sure. It's another classic setup where there's 2 women who both want to kill their husbands and they make a deal. Happiness Falls is a mystery family drama. I gave that one 4 stars. It didn't quite make my list. Lucky, in 2023, I had enough wins that even some 4 stars didn't quite make it. In this one, a father and son go for a walk and only the son returns, and then they're all trying to figure out where the husband has been. Stacey Willingham, again, on my radar, never picked it up. All These Dangerous Things, a baby goes missing, and the mother is under scrutiny for it. The Drowning Woman, again, I've read a couple of Robin Hardings, and since I stopped reading so many thrillers, I never ended up picking this one up, but it seems like it could be interesting. There's a homeless woman and a wealthy woman, and one of them saves the other from drowning, and then one of them helps the other one like disappear. And the others on here just don't tickle my fancy. My list from 2023, I mean, I'm not shocked that The Writing Retreat isn't here, but it's my perfect thriller, slow moving. Women come to work on their novels in this writing retreat. They all have messy relationships, and the person putting it on tasks them with the impossible while they're staying there. They all feel threatened. There's plenty of time though for like steamy relationships and ghosty considerations. It's my only 5-star from 2023. The last one is very good. It has a really brief kind of synopsis, so it's hard to pitch, but there's a woman who's on a cruise with her partner. She wakes up one day, the partner has gone missing. She goes around the ship to find him. Turns out nobody's on the ship. And then the plot takes off from there, but it would be a spoiler, and it's kind of a wackadoodle fun time. And I would also put The Last Word on here, which I'm kind of surprised to not see because Taylor Adams definitely does it for a lot of people. There's this woman living really remotely and she writes a negative book review. The author responds and suddenly she is terrified for her life. I recently read Murder in the Family. We follow the making of this documentary that is setting out to solve a cold case. There's a dead man and just like a bunch of people who know something about it. It sounds generic, but it was written really well. And then I also put Housewoman on my list. This is a slower moving drama thriller. A woman moves from Nigeria to the United States for a relationship. It turns out that she's gonna end up living with her in-laws, and everyone basically wants her to be miserable. If I could only recommend one from my entire list, it would be The Only One Left. I think it has, and also the last one, because those have really surprising elements. And then if I could only reread one from my entire list, it would be The Writing Retreat. Moving into 2022, I have read 6 of these, and none of them, of the remaining, are on my TBR. Wrong Place, Wrong Time was a 4 for me, a little speculative. There's a woman who, like, her son committed a crime, and I think she has the opportunity in these time loops to, like, I don't know if stop it or just find out, like, the reason for it. The It Girl, I liked more than most people seem to, so I'm kind of surprised to see it here. There's this college friend group. One of them dies, and then a decade later, yeah, the man in prison didn't really do it. And we have to find out who actually did. Notes on an Execution did make my list. This is more of fiction than mystery, but there are some mysterious elements. It was really well written, not exactly what you'd expect. The perspective of a bunch of women who knew this terrible man and get insight into the serial killer and how he came to be, what people think of him as he's set to die, like within the next day or so. The Overnight Guest, I'm also surprised to see here. I thought it was just okay. An author gets snowed in this farmhouse. A child shows up and someone is trying to hunt them down. Everyone in my family has killed someone. I love seeing here. I loved this so much. It was soon after Finley Donovan, which maybe, when did that come out? 2021 or 2020? I put it on one of my lists anyway. And after reading that, I was looking for something equally as fun and silly and kind of like aware of its reader. And this one definitely delivered. It's this reunion of an entire family, and the man is talking to you about everything that has happened in his family that was bad. Killers of a Certain Age definitely didn't make my list. Just an assassin organization was probably never going to be for me. I gave it 3 stars. The Maid doesn't interest me. Ashley Flowers doesn't interest me. I think I read the first chapter at one point of both of those. Another Stacey Willingham. This one's like, there was a bunch of murders, and then decades later, all the murders start to happen again. I hated the one and only Jennifer Hillier I've ever read, so that's off my list. It's about celebrities, I think. Alice Feeney, I'm not interested in. I've read so many of her books and I have hated almost all of them, and I just need to stop trying with her. But maybe one day there will be one I need to read again. It could be that. The Liz Nugent, also not interested in. It's about child abuse from what I remember. Okay. My list, in addition to the ones we've already agreed upon. The House Across the Lake, of course, I would have never expected on this list because so many people hate it. A woman moves into a lake house. She befriends her neighbor and starts to question if their marriage is everything that it seems. The Other Side of Night is this slow, weird, like really worth the wait, intricate kind of story. There's a police officer who finds a concerning note. She made a bit of a mistake in her career, so she wants to do something useful, and she's going to solve the death of this couple who left behind a child. And then So Happy for You, I feel like doesn't really fit that well because it's more just fiction, but it does say mystery on Goodreads. It's set at a wedding. One friend is a bridesmaid for another, and she's really unlikable, the protagonist, the perspective we're reading from, judgy and pretentious, and she thinks that the bride or bridal party is like trying to kill her. Very campy. Another kind of over-the-top wedding one is You're Invited. This is a bunch of interviews from people at a Sri Lankan wedding. It was really fun. There's a woman who wants to stop the wedding and the bride goes missing, so obviously she's probably the one who did something, and we're just gathering all of these clues, and it was really fun. Then Look Closer is the perfect domestic thriller. Kind of surprised to not see it here. Nothing is as it seems with this couple is the pitch. There's a trust fund someone is about to get access to. Someone is conning the other, maybe both of them. It was really unexpected where the story went, and I had a lot of fun with it. And then I had a bunch of other 4 stars to consider. Here's some that I read that year that didn't make the list. I chose The Wife Before. It's this whirlwind relationship with a man and woman. His previous wife died in a tragic accident. Maybe the husband had something to do with it. And she uncovers a secret journal in which it revealed like what their relationship was really like. If I could reread one of these right now, it would be So Happy for You. If I could recommend just one, it would be The Other Side of Night, and Look Closer if you just want to be surprised. Moving to 2021, I have read 5, and 4 are on my TBR. Let's just go top to bottom. Razor Blade Tears is an action-packed violence revenge story. Not really my style. I gave it a 2, even though it's important topics, and I get why people love this one. Rock, paper, scissors. I gave 3 stars. This couple goes to stay in this isolated cabin and reading letters from people. Alice Feeney, basically, either I like the story, but the twist never gets me. Like, she always has one big reveal, or the twist got me, but the rest of the book was dull. Local Woman Missing made my list. It has a whole bunch of perspectives and timelines from what I remember. A woman and her daughter go missing, and then another person completely unrelated also goes missing or dies. And like, is it connected? I think a decade later, one of the 3 returns and really shakes up everything, and the truths are unburied. The Push I've also read. I gave that like 1 star. I thought it was trash. I thought it was boring. Really hated it. The Night She Disappeared is like a tolerable Lisa Jewell for me. A couple disappears. A woman moves into the cottage on the same property. A year later, finds clues leading to the truth about what happened. On my TBR, definitely The Plot. This just feels like something a little bit different. And I love an author main character. I'm pretty sure somebody steals the manuscript of a dead student, and now someone found out that happened and is blackmailing them. Like I said, I want to read more A.R. Torr. The Good Lie follows a psychiatrist interviewing survivors of a serial killer. And I think maybe A.R. Torr always has a little bit of romance happening. Of course, Stephen King is going to be on my list. Like, I don't even like half of his books, but he's an auto buy for me still. I think this one's like a killer for hire, Billy Summers. So I don't know if I should read it, but I probably will. And then These Silent Woods. I love the cover. This has a man and his child living in the woods, and he just like wants to be isolated, and then someone maybe goes missing or is dead in those woods, and you find out why he wanted to live in isolation. The last thing he told me sounds boring. We Begin at the End looks boring. And Harlem Shuffle, I just don't know that much about. I didn't know it was a mystery, to be honest. I think it's like a family drama. Now for my list. Oh yeah, here's Where Finley Donovan Is. Obviously it's my number 1, love of my life. I have, after this, looked for so many books to give me the same kind of feeling, and I've rarely found one. It's like this quirky mother/author accidental murder book. And then I also put In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, which I'm surprised Finley Donovan's not on here, but I'm not surprised this one isn't on here. It's like my perfect friend group reunion story. A friend died back in college. All of them know something about that night, and somebody has brought them together to tell the truth. The Trees and the Appeal, I read, I think just like last year. So I know they hold up, even though they came out like 4-5 years ago. The Trees is a satirical fiction mystery. A series of crime scenes happen where there's a dead person who looks identical to all the other crime scenes. Lots of social commentary, funny, so much like what the fuck is actually happening. Then The Appeal is this series of documents. These people are putting on a play. There's a sick child. They're trying to get donations, run this little charity situation, but the way people interact with it and dangerous things happening all come to light. And then Such a Quiet Place. This one is the murder of a couple, and then the woman is accused but not convicted, and she moves back to the town maybe like a decade later, and the truths of that one night get revealed. And then All Her Little Secrets was another 4-star. Everything here was a 4-star except for Finley Donovan and In My Dreams Will Hold a Knife, but The Trees and the Appeal were like 4.5. And then the other ones were a 4. This one stars a lawyer, but she has a lot of secrets. And one day she goes into work and her boss is dead, and if she doesn't solve it, she's going to be accused of being the one who did it. And then also For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing. I think I have 3 Samantha Downings in my list of 80 books. This one, there's a teacher who thinks he's teaching his students a lesson, but he's really like traumatizing, maybe killing them, and not the only one at the school who's doing something fucked up. If I could only reread one thing from this list, it'd be Finley Donovan. I feel like I should. And if I could only recommend one, it would be Local Woman Missing. Okay, let's check 2020. I have read 4 of these, kind of 5. 1 is on my TBR. Love seeing the guest list here, also on my list. It was just so fun. I love wedding books, so many perspectives, reveal after reveal, like everybody has a secret, kind of gimmicky, definitely for me. Home Before Dark, love. That's another one me and Goodreads agree on. I want to reread this because I want to know why I didn't give it a full 5-star. I don't really remember. It was like a 4.5. Great setup. There's this woman going back to her family home. Her father made them leave and then wrote a book about the hauntings that happened there. Is it real? Is it not? that's what we get to uncover. His and Hers I read, do not agree with that one. I really liked the show though. It's got like this married couple and their secrets and a death that happens. There's a murder club, obviously is here. Like everybody loves this. I thought it was so boring. I didn't like the writing and I didn't like the humor. I was so like zoned out reading this that I called it a DNF, even though I did technically read it. And then Winter Counts I've also read. It was fine, 3 stars. A dude enforcing rules and policey, and then there's a drug cartel, just not really to my taste. On my TBR though, definitely the John Mars. He loves to do a reveal, and I think the reveal of this one people have said is really good, and I want to go in completely forgetting the plot. It's in my TBR closet. I'm not interested in the Jennifer Hillier, Tana French, or Janine Rose yet again. After reading God of the Woods, I could see myself reading another Liz Moore. I vaguely heard about this one. I think there's just like 2 sisters, one of them goes missing. And then The Last Flight by Julie Clark I've never heard of, but maybe once I read The Ghostwriter, I could decide if I want to pick up another thing from this author. And then Harlan Coben is whatever. My list from 2020, this is a banger year and I stand by all of these. I already told you about the guest list. My top 3 are all tied. Like, I don't know which is my favorite. When No One Is Watching, this one highlights gentrification. There's a neighborhood changing. Woman goes on a walking tour, and the man that she meets and her experience a lot of like paranoia and fear about people disappearing in the neighborhood. And then 8 Perfect Murders, I'm not surprised not to see on the Goodreads list. I love it, and I don't know why people don't love it. So I think I have to reread this one to remind myself why it was so good, because I was adamant that this was a thriller of the year when I read it. It's about this man who works at a bookstore and he writes this article about all the best murders in fiction, and then people start dying in his city in the same ways, and the FBI is on his ass. They never learn, super good. A professor and a student both on a path of revenge against the bad men at their school, not always into a revenge story. This one did something a little juicy, which was fun. The Night Swim, absolutely stand by. This is a really good podcasty book, kind of in the early days of podcasty fiction. A woman who's become a household name. She's really popular on the scene. She takes this like case on. She's investigating things for her podcast. And while she's in town, she gets asked to do another one, and like someone is following her. There's a drowning, there's a sexual assault. It was kind of simple, but super well written. And then he started it, another Samantha Downing. I wouldn't recommend as much because people really don't like this one, but it's a road trip of siblings and they are fulfilling their dead grandfather's inheritance wishes, but is someone following them? It's chaotic, but also a little slow. I really liked it. A Good Marriage. I think this one has a couple who are recently divorced, or her husband might be dead. Either way, they have this couple friend. The wife died and the man is now in jail, and he wants her as a lawyer to like represent him, but both of the couple's marriage secrets are going to be exposed. 2019. Is this? No, almost a clean sweep. So close. I read 11 of these 12. The only one I didn't is Lucinda Berry. That is an author that doesn't really intrigue me because I see a lot of other people reading her and it just sounds kind of like popcorn thrillers. The only reason I've read almost all of these is because of a Goodreads like end of year reading all of the best mystery thriller books of the year, and I don't think the Lucinda Berry was on there. It doesn't look familiar at all to me. So good for her. If we're talking about like the most long lasting, like impactful books that came from each year, to have surpassed some of the other books that made it to that end of the year awards. Like Lucinda Berry has definitely taken off. Okay, let's see. I agree with The Silent Patient here. For other people, I gave it a 3. I think it's overhyped, but the twist can definitely work for many people. The next 3 are all on my list too. It's Turn of the Key, a 5-star favorite. I think, yeah, my favorite Ruth Ware to date. We have A Live-In Nanny. She is writing a story, like her life story, or the story of what happened while she was being a nanny from prison. So we know that she's being accused of something. Lock Every Door. I remember just feeling so claustrophobic. This is my favorite Riley Sager. 2019 was a banger. A woman is apartment sitting. There's a lot of weird rules in the building. One of her new friends disappears. And then My Lovely Wife, I'm surprised to see her because I know a lot of people did not like this one. A lot of people have read it because of me and said like, Kayla, Samantha Downing is not for me. Like My Lovely Wife was nothing special. I thought it was so interesting. It's like rich couple, have a couple kids, and then they murder people together, but obviously there's secrets between them. What else? The Chain is interesting. It's a fast-paced concept, like phone people up, I'll kill your kid unless you kill or kidnap someone else's kid or something like that. I gave it 4 stars. Not on my list. Someone we know is on my list by Sherry Lupino. All her books kind of look the same, but this one, I remember the plot. It's like this teenager who's breaking into a bunch of people's homes in the neighborhood and like stealing their secrets. The Lost Man was boring. Runaway was whatever. Family Upstairs, terrible. Miracle Creek is a mystery for sure, but it's more like general fiction. There's this experimental treatment for autism. It discusses a lot of things. 2 people end up dead based on the treatment, and we're reading a lot of court transcripts from what I remember. 4 stars for me. The Whisper Man is so overhyped to me. A man moves to a small town with his young son. Someone vanished. He fears they will be the next target. And I guess let's look into When She Returned to figure out what it's actually about. One woman's reappearance throws her family into turmoil, exposing dark secrets and the hidden, often devastating truths of family relationships. A woman disappeared from a parking lot. She may have been abandoned by a cult. Has to reintegrate into society. Yeah, that doesn't sound like it's for me. My list. Ow. I dropped a teriyaki bottle on the floor earlier, and I was like, there's no way after just one sweep I got all the glass. I was right. There was one in my foot. Okay, my list. Continuing from the ones I already told you about, I have Come Find Me, which is definitely a questionable one. It's like more maybe general fiction. It's YA. It's a little speculative sci-fi feeling. Oh, my fridge is too loud. One day I won't be filming from my kitchen office. Goodreads has tagged this as mystery first though. So I just remember loving the relationship between these 2 teens, young adults, connecting over their missing siblings. They're trying to understand these weird frequencies that are coming through like the radio, maybe giving them hints about where their siblings are. And the missing years, I stand by so much. I think that it's kind of a generic concept. A woman goes to Scotland, inherits a house from her father that maybe she never knew he had or something like that, and he's presumed dead, that he's just missing, and she's investigating it. I feel like most people I've recommended this to didn't actually end up loving it. I think it's because the actual reveal is one that I haven't seen done before, so that could definitely be a factor. And then I'll Never Tell. This is about a group of siblings who lost their parents, and they decide to visit their family summer camp and choose like what to do with it. There's like secrets that everyone has about a death that happened at the summer camp way back in the day when they were kids. If I could only reread one of these right now, it would be Come Find Me. And if I could only recommend one, I think the best, most interesting one might be The Turn of the Key. I wonder if this is the last Ruth Ware we'll see on here, or if they're going to mention some of her older ones that like people loved, and I was like, what are we doing? I didn't love a Ruth Ware until we got, oh no, I also loved The Death of Mrs. Westaway. Was that 2018? Let's scroll down and see what they said. Ooh, I have read 10 of the 12, and the other 2, like one of them is on my TBR technically. I read a whole bunch of these again because I was doing, I remember an end of the year best mystery thrillers from Goodreads. The Widows of Malabar Hill was on my radar because of that, but it didn't quite make the top 10, so I didn't end up reading it. It's like in the 1920s, there's this lawyer who's looking into the death of these 3 wives of this man, and all of them gave their inheritance to like this charity, and maybe he owns it, and so he's killing them and taking their money. I think that's the general premise of the ones I have read. I don't agree with the Lisa Jewell or Jennifer Hillier. I don't think those are good books. The Riley Sager and The Woman in the Window are good. They just didn't make my list. Verity, it's crazy the way people love that book. Like, I don't get it personally. I remember at the time I was like, oh, it's probably just a bunch of romance readers who are getting into thriller for the first time, and so they think it's good when it's not. But now I know that those people who read that book and love that book do also read plenty of other thrillers and mysteries, and so Verity just holds up for them, and that's fine. I cannot agree. The Outsider, I think, is really uninteresting. But the other 4 on here are also on my list. So the only one I haven't read is, and haven't really considered reading, is The Broken Girls. People recommend to me Simone St. James, and I've DNF'd like 2 or 3 of her books. So you'd have to really convince me of this one. But I do have The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle on my list. This is a fun mystery speculative. Narrator wakes up in a different guest body every single day at this manor until he solves the murder. It wasn't perfect. It was a 4, but it was pretty damn good. My favorite from 2018 was The Wife Between Us. This is only going to hit, I think, if you haven't read this specific reveal or twist before. It's the kind of book that I think you're going to give like a 4-5 or a 1-2. Like you're not going to really have a middle ground feeling about it. There's like a love triangle in it. I don't know how to introduce what the mystery even is because the synopsis is really vague. It's all shrouded in secrecy. Just know it's a fun one, I think. My Sister the Serial Killer, love to see here. Surely it's more like literary, but there are killings in it. It's like how much would one sister do to protect her sister? Every partner that she's ever had has died, and she wants to save this current one. And then the Chalk Man. I think I had a good amount of 4 stars to choose from. I just went with the Chalk Man. There's like this childhood game where the kids would draw chalk with chalk outside of each other's houses to indicate like little clues or where they're going to be. And then 30 years later, one of them, I think, witnesses, or they all witnessed a crime as kids. And then one of them is getting chalk people drawn outside again. And he's like, or she is like, I have to get the gang back together. Something not on Goodreads list that is on mine is Something in the Water. And then also this is The Death of Mrs. Westaway time. So Something in the Water, I read recently, so I know I still like it. It takes place on this honeymoon in Bora Bora where the husband and wife find something in the ocean and they have to agree what to do with it. And then The Death of Mrs. Westaway, I don't know how this isn't on their list. I think this is a really solid one. It's a mistaken identity, one of my favorite tropes. A woman is gonna get an inheritance, but the letter was sent to the wrong person. But she's like, let's see if I can go anyway and capitalize on this. But she gets way in over her head with the family. And then I know isn't for everyone. I really liked it. I had a lot of people read it because of me and just said it was okay, but I thought it was fun. There's 2 murder cases like 20 years apart and they're weirdly similar. And there's a podcast in it that is solving things. And then I also put all these beautiful things on my list. This woman disappears from her family lake house, leaving behind a young daughter. Then 10 years later, we follow that daughter as she's starting at this new school, I think. She's brought into the secret society and it reveals the truths about her family. If I was to only recommend one, I would say The Death of Mrs. Westaway. And if I could only reread one, it'd probably be The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I would like to read that knowing what I know by the end. Let's move on to 2017. Okay, I've read quite a few of these. Stillhouse Lake is the only one on my TBR. I've read 6, one is on my TBR. This is one of the ones in my back pocket as like a future Literally Dead Book Club backlist pick when I really need a good backlist one. Everyone seems to like this. There's a housewife with 2 kids who it turns out her husband is a serial killer and she goes to start a new life on Stillhouse Lake, but then there's letters that start to arrive threatening her or to reveal her family secrets, or like maybe it's from her husband. I have no idea, but I think that's interesting. And all 3 of the ones in that top row that I've read have made my list too. The Good Daughter is about sisters. They were like held at gunpoint in the woods one time. Only one of them got away, and now decades later, a lot more violence is happening in that small town and she's having memories, and I'm sure it's connected in some way. I don't really remember. No Exit is just an adrenaline rush, is fast paced, takes place at a truck stop where a woman finds his kidnapped child. Behind Her Eyes, I remember nothing about that one except for the twist because it's stupid and I love stupid, so I'm really happy that it's here because obviously it hits for so many people. The plot involves a woman who meets a man and she finds out he has a wife, but like their relationship is kind of messy, rocky. I don't remember like any of the plot, like what actually happens between the people, but the twist is, yeah, worth it. For me, you might hate it. The Final Girls is good. Definitely put Riley Sager on the map for a lot of people. This group of women survived each a horrific attack, and then they get together and someone is targeting them as adults. The Dry was good. I think the sequel, Force of Nature, is better. There's a detective, and I think it's set in Australia. The breakdown is not very good. This woman like drives her car, sees another car with maybe a dead person inside it, and then it doesn't stop. And then she's having memory issues. For the ones I haven't read, John Grisham, Harlan Coben, Anthony Horowitz, Passing On. The latter, though, has been recommended to me. It's about a crime writer. It's like a whodunit. It doesn't sound that interesting, but I'm sure someone will tell me to read it. I Am Watching You is one of the only books on this entire list that I haven't heard of. So a woman sees a young girl being harassed on a train, doesn't step in, and then that girl turns up dead and she feels a lot of guilt. And then back at the top, The Last Mrs. Parrish. I know I've heard of this one because I've read another book that everyone had commented on. It was like, oh my God, did they just steal the plot of The Last Mrs. Parrish? So I know that I know what it is, but I don't really know what it is. Oh, it might be like a stolen identity. A woman is really jealous of another woman, wants to take her life. Has a pretty high average rating. My list. I am adding, in addition to the other ones that we already agree on, If We're Villains. I don't know if this should count because it's like dark academia, but it does say mystery on Goodreads. So If I Was a Man Who Just Got Out of Jail for Murder, when he gets out, the man who's about to retire, the detective who put him in there in the first place, wants to know the truth. So we go back in time. There's like 7 Shakespeare actors in college and it's their messy tale. When I'm Through With You, I don't stand by, I don't recommend, but I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. It's a YA, super low averagely rated, unlikable main character thriller. It's a survival story on a camping trip. Very obnoxiously written. The River at Night is an adrenaline rush thriller. This group of coworkers is on a river rafting journey and bad things keep happening. The Lost Ones was a Literally Dead book club pick, set where I live, so that was a fun read. A woman put her baby up for adoption like 15 years ago and now she's missing. It's got amateur detective vibes. Emma at Night is on my list. This is about 2 sisters. One of them vanishes in the night when they're teenagers, and then one returns 3 years later, and she has this whole story she spun, but it doesn't make any sense. Considering it's like 2017, I would recommend all of these except for the YA that I told you no. Okay, and then I guess our last one's gonna be 2016. Oh, there's only 8 for here. And then underneath it says need more? Fine, here are some popular books published from 2006 to 2015. So obviously, whoever put this together didn't think that there was very much good stuff from 2016. Let's see if I agree once I show you my list. But of these 8, I've read 3. I DNF'd 1. Some Meg and Miranda just gets too boring to finish. We've got The Usual Suspects down here with John Grisham and Harlan Coben. Louise Penny is a super well-known author. I would have expected to see her earlier. I know nothing about her books. Before the Fall, I had on my TBR at one point, but I think it's more just fiction. It's like the aftermath of a plane crash. I've read The Woman in Cabin 10. This is just a different cover. It has a trope I really hate in it, so that's maybe a reason I didn't like it. There's a woman on this boat. She sees a woman go overboard and can't convince anybody that it happened, or hears her go overboard or something like that. Behind Closed Doors, I'm not interested in this type of story now, but it worked for what it is. It's a very palatable, predictable version of it where a woman is trying to get out of an abusive relationship. I also did end up putting this on my list. The Couple Next Door I also put on my list. This was I think my first Sherry Lapina before I got tired of a lot of domestic suspense where a child is dead or missing. These are parents who go next door to hang out with their friends when they're like, and leave their 6-month-old baby in the crib, and then the baby goes missing. In addition to those being on my list, I put 6 stories. This is the only 5-star mystery I had from 2016. At this point, everyone who I've recommended this to, who read it because of me, most people said that they didn't love it as much as me, so it doesn't necessarily hold up. And especially it doesn't hold up as a surprising read because I think this reveal has been done a lot since. But the story is there's a teenage boy who died and there are 6 people who know what happened. And like 30 years later, all those people are being interviewed on a podcast. And I put With Malice and The Telling. Those are both YA books that I think probably don't hold up. With Malice was very much of its time. An 18-year-old student is studying abroad and finds herself at the center of a murder investigation. Her best friend died and the media is convinced that she did it. And then The Telling, I don't really remember anything about. I think there's like a death of her stepbrother, and she has this friend group, and I don't know, it was really moody. Like, this author writes really moody YA, and this one, I think all of her books maybe have just recently gotten republished and reprinted, so maybe it holds up. I also put The Darkest Secret on mine, which I didn't remember anything about, but it says I gave it 4 stars. There's a child who goes missing during a house party, and then we're 12 years in the future and there is some sort of reveal with that person who went missing or the twin of that person. And then every other Alex Marwood I read after that totally flopped. So I have no idea if I would recommend that. I See You has a really intriguing setup. This woman sees her face in the newspaper. Every day it's in a different section, from the classifieds to then being a victim of a violent crime. And I, again, don't remember anything about this, but all my Goodreads friends seem to like it too. So I would probably like reread it and be shocked by all of the twists all over again. And then He Will Be My Ruin, I'm still gonna stand by because I haven't read too many thriller romances that I've really liked, and I think this one was good. And I remember being like twisty. There's a woman who ends her life and her best friend is trying to track down clues of what really happened, and there's a couple like sexy men involved. If I were to reread one, it would be that one. If I were to only recommend one, I think Behind Closed Doors is like a really palatable one, so I'm gonna say that for 2016. And then before that, we just have a bunch of like really big hits. Gone Girl, loved. Girl on the Train, I didn't. Pretty Girls, I liked. Big Little Lies, I loved at the time. Mr. Mercedes, I thought was good. It's funny, these ones are definitely have been recommended to me, like especially at this time when I was reading Gone Girl and Mr. Mercedes. People were like, oh my God, you have to try Before I Go to Sleep. And The Snowman, I never ended up getting to them. And then Sharp Objects, I don't like as much as most people do. Gillian Flynn, I love, but this was not the one from her that I enjoyed. Okay, that's it. Let me do some quick math. I have read 62 of the 136 books mentioned, which is 45%. And I'm pretty sure that's what I said. I said I would be under 50%. And if I read only six more from the entire list, I will hit that 50%. So maybe that'll be the goal for the end of the year. I'm going to pop up really quickly the books that I was considering maybe need to be on my TBR. If you want to talk me into any of them or talk me out of any of them, maybe I'll try to get to a chunk of these by the end of the year to hit that 50%. Definitely on a hunt for more mystery and thrillers that work for me. I know I get comments sometimes, they're like, I wish you read more of this. And mystery thriller was never my number one genre by the end of the year, but I did often make videos around it, like 3 thriller spoiler videos. And obviously I have a thriller mystery horror book club. And I think I'm most interested to see by the end of the year, the 2026 ones. Like of the 12 that they mentioned, how many of those am I gonna read by the end of the year? Because if I were to show you a bunch of 2026 releases that I hope to read, that I think maybe could be in my top 8 or 12 by the end of the year, this is those. I really hope I love Her Last Breath. I really hope I love The Library After Dark. Catherine Steadman, I mentioned a couple times, so 9 Lives sounds good. CJ Tudor I mentioned, so Serenity Falls sounds good. Riley Sager I mentioned, so The Unknown. There's this book called 5 that I'm interested in. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Let me know, I don't know, if you want to tell me your favorite thriller from each and every year, or ones that you feel like you would recommend to everybody. Maybe the comments could be helpful in that. Thank you for hanging out with me on this random Wednesday. Thank you to the person who inspired me to make this content to begin with. I had no idea this article was posted. It was really perfect timing. And I will see you in another video this weekend. Bye!